Assalamu alaikum. In the last week, we have done the second last topic of the first chapter, that was the levels of biological organization or hierarchy of life. In that topic, we saw that there are around about 12 or 15 or 9 altogether. There are different levels that make the life possible. So in that video lecture, we saw that all the levels, it actually ascends from the simplest level and it gradually moves towards the complex level. Today's topic is actually about the cells in detail. Today's topic is actually also similar to the previous topic, that was levels of biological organization. So today's topic is levels of cellular organization. So it's actually about the cells in detail. Okay, so can you tell me how the cell organizes or how the cell is formed? It actually the 4 levels altogether that assemble and organize to make up the cell. The very first one is atomic level, then atoms into molecules, molecules then arranged to make the bigger molecules, macromolecules, and the macromolecules assemble to make the organelles, and organelles function together to make the cell. So what's today's topic is actually about its cellular organization, and you know how the cell is organized. Okay, now in today's topic we will learn that how the cells organize. If there are more than one cell, how they organize to make up the organism. So what are the objectives? We will be able to define cell organization. Then we will illustrate different levels of cellular organization. Like in the previous last week, we have done the different levels of biological organization. So in today's lecture, we will do different levels of cellular organization and differentiate between them. So there are roundabout that we will do today. There are 3 levels of cellular organization, and we will also differentiate between these 3 levels of cellular organization. In the previous video lecture, I also told you that all the organisms that are found on this earth, that are present in this world, they have been categorized, or you can say they have been divided, or you can say they have been classified into 5 groups. So it's actually the classification of living organisms. So living organisms have been classified into 5 groups. Like the very first one group is kingdom Monera. Okay, the group kingdom Monera. Okay, then Protista, that include protists. Okay, and then kingdom Fungi, kingdom Animalia, and kingdom Plantae. So these are the 5 you can say groups into which organisms can be classified. If an organism is discovered that has the characteristics similar to animals, so it will be placed in kingdom Animalia. If an organism is discovered that has characteristics that are similar to monerans, so it will be placed in kingdom Monera. So right now you all have to remember that there are 5 groups into which organisms can be classified or organism can be categorized. So what are those 5 names? Kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia, these are the 5 groups. So what's kingdom? Kingdoms are the broadest groups in the classification system. It's actually classification of organisms into 5 groups. Now, what do you think might be in the other 3 kingdoms? Like 2 kingdoms are given over here. Kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Animalia includes animals and kingdom Plantae includes plants. So what will be in the next 3 groups? Kingdom Fungi, kingdom Protista, that includes protist, and kingdom Monera, that includes monerans. And we will learn about these 5 kingdoms in detail in the 5th chapter. So what you have to do is right now you have to just learn or memorize these 5 names. these 5 groups into which all the living things, all the organism, no matter how bigger, smaller is it, it has been divided into these 5 groups. Okay, now next, now tell me one thing, what all these 5 groups have in common? What all these 5 groups have in common? Although they belong to 5 different groups, but all the organisms have one thing that is similar to all. That's that all these organisms are made up of cell. Because have you in the first slide, can you see over here that these first 4 levels, these are actually non-living, and after this green line, can you read it over here, transition from non-living to living. So it means from the cell level actually the life begins, and you all know that the cell is the basic unit of life. It means life begins from cell, so it's transition from non-living to living. So all these 5 groups, they all organisms that are included in these 5 groups, they all are made up of cell. They all have this similarity. Okay, so what's cell? You all know this definition. We have already done this definition in the previous video lecture. Basic structural and functional unit of life. Because of cell the life is possible. Because of cell the transition is done from the non-living to living. So it's, in short, what's its basic unit of life. Okay, enclosed by a membrane. What does it mean? For example, the room is like cell, so the walls, it will be like cell membrane, its boundary. Okay, so next we have learnt that there are how many types of cells. These next few slides are similar to the slides that we have already done in the previous lecture. So there are 2 basic types of cell, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Okay, either, no doubt, all organisms or all living things are made up of cell, Now the difference starts from here. There are 2 basic types of cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Now the question is whether the organism is made up of prokaryotic cell or the eukaryotic cell. So from here, the 2 basic types of cell, the difference starts. Okay, so either the organism will be made up of prokaryotic cell or it will be made up of eukaryotic cell. Now the 5 groups that we have learned so far: kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom plants, kingdom animals, Animalia, they all are made up of cell. Now remember one thing, the kingdom Monera includes only bacteria. So it means the member in the kingdom Monera or the group Monera are made up of prokaryotic cell. They are made up of prokaryotic cells and they are known as prokaryotes. And the next 4 kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia, all these organisms that are included in these groups, they are made up of eukaryotic cell, and all together they all are made up of cell. So is it clear to all of you? So far what we have learnt, that all the organisms are made up of cell and all the organisms have been divided into 5 groups, and there are 2 basic types of cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Either the organism is made up of prokaryotic cell or it's made up of eukaryotic cell. And the only best example of prokaryotic cells is bacteria. Bacteria are made up of prokaryotic cell. I'll tell you the difference. What's the difference between these 2 cells in the next few slides. So far you have to just remember this. Now, what does this? And eukaryotic cell is on the basis of nucleus. So prokaryotes are those organisms that are made up of prokaryotic cell, okay, and eukaryotes are those organisms that are made up of eukaryotic cell. Now prokaryotic cell is that type of cell that is without a true nucleus. Without a true nucleus. I'll explain it in the next slide. And eukaryotes, as this word means, true nucleus, are those cells that are made up of true cell, or that have true cell. So is it clear? The meaning of the word prokaryote and eukaryote. Now look at this one diagram. You have to tell me 4 structures that are similar in prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Hurry up. What's that? First one, plasma membrane. It's present in both. Second one, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is present in every cell, the fluid. And DNA. What is DNA? In the last lecture we have done this. It's a molecule that is actually transferred from the parents to their young ones, and this molecule actually has the instructions to make up your body. So this is also called the hereditary material or genetic material, because it's very important, because it has instructions to perform the functions. So plasma membrane, cytoplasm, DNA and ribosomes. What are ribosomes? You know about this. Ribosomes are the organelles that help in the protein synthesis. So you have to remember that these are the 4 things that are similar in prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Now I'll tell you the difference. Now look at this one. The eukaryotic cells have a nucleus, this purple one, a prominent nucleus, a prominent structure in which the DNA is present. I'm talking about eukaryotic cell. Now let's talk about prokaryotic cell. The prokaryotic cell has DNA, but it's not present in a nucleus. It's actually present in a region. So it means prokaryotic cell, its name itself means they do not have prominent nucleus. What does the word prominent nucleus means? It means they have genetic material DNA, but that is present directly in the cytoplasm. It's not present within the nucleus. And same like that, the eukaryote means true nucleus. They have true nucleus, and their DNA is present within the nucleus, or their DNA is bound within the nucleus. The one difference. Now another difference. Can you see over here the difference in their size? The eukaryotic cells are bigger than prokaryotic cell. Now the third difference. The eukaryotic cell has so many organelles within it. This is mitochondria, this is Golgi apparatus. This type of organelles are not present in prokaryotic cells. They have just one organelle. What's that organelle? That's ribosome. It means eukaryotic cells are much complex as compared to the prokaryotic cell. So is it clear to all of you? There are 2 types of cells. I have told you the similarity between these 2 cells and differences between these 2 cells. We will do this topic again in the 4th chapter in detail. So right now this much information is enough for you. Same like that, prokaryotic cells are smaller, do not contain a nucleus and organelles. Eukaryotic cells are larger, complex, they contain nucleus, they have dozen of organelles. Now next one. This one is actually, we will not learn about this in 5th chapter. I said that we will learn this one about this in 3rd chapter, about this classification of organisms. Organisms can be either made up of prokaryotic cell or made up of eukaryotic cells. The prokaryotes belong to only kingdom Monera, and rest of the 4 groups of organisms are made up of eukaryotic cells. Okay. Now whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic, it organizes itself in 3 ways. The first one is unicellular organization, and the organism will be called as unicellular organization that will be formed. The second one is colonial organization, and the organism that will be formed through this organization is known as colonial organism. Third one, multicellular organization, and the organism will be known as multicellular organism. So altogether there are three ways in which the cells organize themselves to make up the bodies of living organisms. Okay, so the next one, we will first of all we will talk about the unicellular organization in detail. What unicellular means? In the previous lecture I have told you, uni means one. It means they are made up of one cell. They are made up of one cell. The best example is bacteria. To which group bacteria belongs? Tell me. Which group? Kingdom Monera. And which type of cell it has? It has prokaryotic cell. Is it clear? Okay, now protists. To which group the protists belong? Kingdom Protista. They can also be made up of one cell. Okay, same like that. And what are protists? What type of cell the protists are made of? Eukaryotic cell. Same like that, few fungi are also unicellular, and fungi also belong to eukaryotes. Okay, now multicellular. What are multi means? Many. It means they are made up of many cells, and each cell is specialized. Each cell performs a different task, and the best example of multicellular organisms are all animals and all plants. They all are multicellular. They all are made up of many cells, and they are also eukaryotes. And fungi are also, most fungi. Few fungi are unicellular, but most fungi are multicellular. Now the last level of organization, that is colonial. It has many cells. I'll explain this one in the next slide in detail. So far I have told you that the cells organize themselves in three ways to make up the body. That's unicellular, okay, multicellular and colonial. And organisms will be called respectively unicellular organism, multicellular organism and colonial organism. Is it clear? Now, organisms, yes, you know about it. One cell, many cell, multicellular. Okay, what's unicellular? Composed of single cell. Example, bacteria, yeast, amoeba. According to your book, there are three examples. First of all, I'll explain. Unicellular have one cell, and their all life activities are performed by that one cell. It means their all life depends upon only one cell. The one cell will perform all the necessary functions. Okay, and the example of that is amoeba, paramecium and euglena according to your book. And other than that, other than these examples, we have the example of bacteria, we have the example of yeast. These are the few examples. We have the example of volvox that we will do in the next. That organism is also unicellular. Now second one, colonial organization and the colonial organisms. They differ from multicellular. What are colonial? What is a colonial organism? It actually that type of organization in which many unicellular organisms live together in the form of colony. They live together in the form of colony. Like over here, they do not have division of labor. What does it mean? It means each cell lives its own life. Each cell is independent. Neither of the cell is dependent on other cells for its vital requirements. It means they perform their function on their own. And the best example of that is volvox. It's found in water, and it shows the volvox itself is unicellular, but hundreds of the volvox live together and they take a shape of a colony. So that's colonial organization. Like over here, if it's single cell, that's Chlamydomonas, and they have started to live together, and at the end of volvox cells live together. Now this is a stained slide, and as you can see that different this is actually a colony of volvox, and these few circles within it, these are also called daughter colonies. So one colony may also contain daughter colonies and granddaughter colonies that will be released, and they will make their own colony. Okay, so these are the different colonies of the volvox. Now the last one organization, that's the multicellular organization. You know about it. Many cells are present within the body, body of organisms. And what the cells do? The cells together organize to form tissue, organ and organ system. And second one thing, it shows division of labor. Each cell depends upon the other cell, okay, and together they will make up the whole body of the organism. The two examples of the multicellular organisms that are given in your book, that's frog and mustard plant. The frog belongs to kingdom Animalia and mustard plant belongs to kingdom Planae. Okay, and the best example is you also, but according to your book, these two examples have been explained. Multicellular organisms made up of many cells, that's the mustard plant. And you have to memorize the scientific name of mustard plant. It's very important, and you have to write it as it is. Okay, each organism in biology is given a scientific name. The scientific name of mustard plant is Brassica campestris. And when it's handwritten, it must be underlined, as I have typed it, and it's always, when it's printed, it's always in italics. But when it's handwritten, it must be, after writing the scientific name, you have to underline it. Okay, it's rule of giving scientific name. We will learn this in third chapter. What are the rules to give the scientific name? But spellings, and learn these. Only the first letter will be capital, rest of all the letters will be small. The C will not be capital, okay. So this is the scientific name of mustard plant, and you know that the mustard plant has different organs. Okay, I'll explain its organs next. And now the second example is frog. And what's the scientific name of frog? Rana tigrina. Okay, and when you will write it in the exam, if this question will be asked, so after writing it, you have to underline it. Okay, so Rana tigrina. The notes have already been uploaded, so from the notes I'll tell you a brief detail of mustard plant and frog. So scientific name, I have already told you about this, and it's sown in winter and it produces seeds at the end of winter. It can be asked in MCQs. Now this is very important. What are the two advantages of mustard plant? Important short question. The plant body is used as vegetable, and its seeds for extracting oil, like mustard oil we also use it. Okay, now next, the organs of the plant are divided into two categories: reproductive parts and vegetative parts. Okay, so reproductive parts, the best example of reproductive part is flower, because flower helps in pollination and to make the next organism. And vegetative parts, that's root, stem and branches. Now what's the difference between these two? Very important question. The vegetative organs are those organs that do not take part in sexual reproduction. Okay, and the reproductive parts are those that take part in sexual reproduction. And the example I have already told you: root, stem, leaves, branches. These are the example of vegetative organs. Okay, they do not take part in sexual reproduction, and only the flower takes part, and it helps to make fruit and seeds. Okay, and now a question that is given in your exercise: is there any division of labor among the cells of a colony? If you find any division of labor among the cells and tissue, what level of cellular organization is it? You know about this, I have explained in the lecture. There is no division of labor among the cells of a colony. Each cell lives its own life, and if there is division of labor, that's the multicellular level of organization. Okay, so it means in our body there is division of labor, because we are multicellular in the body of mustard plant and in the body of frog too. Okay, now frog, same like that, it's multicellular. Okay, and then cells will arrange to form tissues, tissues will form organ, and organ will form organ system, and there are different organs and organ systems and tissues within the body of organisms that we have discussed in the previous lecture in very much detail. Okay, now I'll post a question and you all have to answer that. You have to write all the basic differences between unicellular, multicellular and colonial type of cellular organization, only the differences. And the one difference that I want to tell you people, the first difference is on the basis of division of labor. Okay, and why the organisms live in the form of colony, because it gives them benefit, it's make their defense stronger to fight against the larger predator. Okay, and a question rises in the mind that why the organisms have to live in the form of colony, and do they survive out of the colony? Yes, if the hundreds of the volvox are living together, and if one volvox separates from the colony, then one volvox can survive. Okay, but what happens in multicellular organization? In multicellular organization there are also many cells, and in colonial organization there are also many cells. But in colonial organization, if the cell is separated, it can survive. But in multicellular organization, a cell cannot survive without its group, because the cells together have to make tissue, they have to make organ, and they have to make organ system. And there is nothing like that in colonial organization. In colonial organizations, the cells live together, but they do not make tissue, organ and organ system. And I hope all the points are clear to all of you now, and learn it from the notes. And we have completed our first chapter of biology. Review, do the question and review your exercise, and if there are any question you cannot solve, otherwise all the questions have been solved in the notes. Allah Hafiz.